Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's instalment of Berardi and Coke with myself and Gilly from Ought to Know Better fame. Shall we say fame? Are you famous? Is Ought to Know Better infamous? Maybe more infamous.
Infamous.
Yeah, infamous. And to a couple of guests, somebody who's been here one or two times with us before. Lou, how are you doing, mate? All right.
All good. Yeah.
Pleased to hear it. Pleased to hear it. And Ought to Know Better virgin. And our first ever official Italian to actually ever come on the podcast, because we have had Don Matteo on here, and he's not actually Italian. But we've also got Carl, who comes on quite regularly, who thinks he doesn't know what he is, but he thinks he's Italian. He thinks he's Irish when they're playing. He honestly doesn't know. But how are we doing, Andrea? Welcome to Ought to Know Better.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very, very happy to be on, and still buzzing from yesterday, honestly. So yeah, very happy to talk again about the great win from yesterday, you know.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What we'll do, we'll run an intro and we'll get into a bit.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
You look like fucking Brolin, you're a Leeds-eating bastard.
Look like some sort of fucking weird floating head. No.
He's a utensil player a bit, innit?
I mean, I feel a bit right, dickhead.
Nothing spectacular, really.
I've just got something to say about that intro, actually, because I remember when off air when we'd been on Joe's podcast, and I was trying to teach Andrea some British slang, and I was trying to teach him that the word nonce meant really good. And everyone was like, no, don't say that.
It didn't work because I knew that. I know that word.
You awful bastard.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, welcome then. First things first, great win last night. I know it was laboured at times, and don't know, it just felt like Norwich took a bit of the sting out of our tail at one stage. But all in all, Lou, I'll come to you first, mate, because I know you've not spoken about this enough tonight, because you've only just come on from recording LS11s after the match, post-match preview or whatever. So yeah, what all in all, happy with that performance last night? Do you think, Lou, is there a lot of positives to take out of it?
Yeah, I think it was just 2 games in a row of winning ugly, which was pleasing. I think I was thinking today what that game reminded me of was a game where we played against Reading years ago. Jaap Stam was manager, and they passed the ball around a whole lot, and they couldn't believe they hadn't got a result, but they didn't really create anything. It was a bit like that last night. I mean, they tested Melier once. John Rowe is a really good talent, isn't he? And he was probably their only really dangerous attacking outlet, who would make me squirm during the game, but they didn't really create anything after that. Like I thought he was pretty good. Yeah, I think not as excited as that. I didn't squirt. I certainly squirmed.
Good stuff. I mean, yeah, I think you're quite right. I mean, in terms of winning ugly two games in a row now, I would suggest, because it wasn't by any means our best performance of the season last night. It wasn't a complete performance. There were some decent performances in there, some strong performances, which we'll come on to. But for me, as you say, winning ugly is sometimes a sign of a very, very good team. Andrea, do you think that shows then a different perspective and almost a different outfit that Leeds can actually show up and actually do that now? Whereas probably earlier on in the season or in previous seasons under different managers, we didn't really have that alternate persona where we could actually turn up and actually win ugly. 9 times out of 10, we'd lose or draw those games. Do you think that's something positive to look forward for the running towards the end of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. Because in the end, if you saw the results of Leicester at the start of the season, they were winning a lot of games in an ugly way. You know, they were not dominating; they were scoring in the final 5 or 10 minutes of the game. So it's good to see that this team now can dominate the game in terms of being offensive minded, attacking, float in the opposition half, but also capable of digging deep sometimes, like we did, for example, at Blackburn and counter-attack at Ewood Park, for example. So it's good to have a double dimension. In the end, you build the winning seasons to by winning games that matter a lot. Like yesterday it was very massive for me in terms of the importance, because we've seen it in the past against Norwich. It seems that it happens very, very often that the game against Norwich are like the possible turnarounds in the season in terms of the importance they have those games. So I think that for especially the first half, I think we were very good in playing our style of football, but I like the reaction after the first 15 minutes in the second half when we're too deep in our own half, too narrow, and it showed that we wanted to get forward, try to play again on our best style of football, the style of football that suits us best, So it's good to see that this team can be double-dimensional, because in the end, in those tight games decided by margins, it's important to be like that. Big teams are built also through ugly wins as well as brilliant wins, and it's good to see that we have this double dimension now in certain games.
Yeah, I completely agree. Gilly, Andrea touched on it there. There was a period during that game where we were uncomfortable and we didn't know really what to do. When Norwich controlled possession, we almost looked a little bit lost, because we've been so used to controlling and having things go our way a little bit more. I think this season, I think they're the first team to do it to us. And why do you think that? What do you think sort of kick-started that? Do you think it was the team talk? Was it always a plan, or do you think do you think they actually just thought, actually we'll take the sting out of the tail? And how uncomfortable did it feel in the stands?
It never felt. I never felt on edge as much as, oh shit, they're going to score at any minute. It was that kind of growing feeling of. It's a strange one, I guess. Whenever we are doing that to other teams, and we do that to other teams more than they do it to us, dominating possession, but not really harming teams. You're thinking, oh God, they're going to get away with this. We're not going to score while we're on top, and it's going to peter out and fizzle out, and they're going to come back into the game and get a bit of possession. When another side's doing it to us, it almost feels like, oh God, the goal's going to come any minute. And it's that juxtaposition actually of it's exactly the same sort of passion, the situation. I think in the stands, they never really looked like they were going to cut us open. There were one of the lads that did some coaching for Allbeck Moore when my little one were there, Chris. He said on Twitter earlier on, it were all fart and no shit. And I quite like the way they were putting it, because it were all bluster. They had a lot of the ball. They didn't really do much with it. I think the frustration in the fans, because there was a bit of frustration, is when we did win the ball, we instantly gave it away again. We were knocking it off, but there were nobody to pick out. Or if we went right and we should have gone left. And I think that really was the main source of frustration in the stands, was we've won the ball there, but all of a sudden we don't have it again. And I think that was the point. Just to touch on the other bit about winning ugly, I think there were certain occasions in the build-up to the goal, more than anything else, there were certain occasions when somebody had to stand up and impress their physicality on their opponent. Russo did it several times in the second half, and I think that actually that's one of the things that brought us out of that period when Norwich had all the ball. Is he went and put in a massive steaming tackle on touchline, smashed somebody, took the ball. Somebody else tried smashing him and he just shrugged it off. And then all of a sudden we got possession. We've retained possession. Everybody else can pull up the pitch a little bit. And he brought us out of that. Archer Gray, the build up to Bamford's goal as well, went and won the ball in the air, put his body on the line, got a bit hurt in the tackle. Rutter's then got the ball, lays it off to Dan James and makes a run, makes all the space. Great ball in, but without that physicality, we don't create that space and we don't score. I think that was an important factor.
Yeah,
I mean, I completely agree. It's funny actually that you mentioned Rutter being almost the catalyst for that spell being over for Norwich, because I felt during that spell, and I mentioned this on the instant reaction with Joe last night, that I felt Rutter was part of the issue that we were under so much pressure, because he was letting Paddy do all the running and the pressing in that stage, and he was almost sitting and just being a number at some stages. And I think I don't think Rutter had a poor game by any measure, but what I did notice was it looked a little bit alien when they had the ball and they were in comfortable possession, and he was expected to play 10. And that's gonna come from experience. We've still got to appreciate he's a 21-year-old playing in a position that's brand new to him. He's never played there before, as far as I'm aware, until Farke's tried him there. And when he's got the ball at feet, absolutely works. It works. You can see that. But I think there's a lot of work needs to be done, and he's very, very raw in terms of the potential he's got and how good he could be in that position. I think I hadn't actually picked up
before he joined. Sorry, just on that point before he moved. Before he joined, did he played out wide and up front?
He played right wing and striker. Yeah,
mainly on the right. You know, the majority of his goals, you know, from outside the box came from turning inside from the wing and going inside and shooting. So yeah, I think it's brand new, but he really suits him from. In my point of view.
My only criticism of him would be he's not very good at holding the ball up, I don't think, and keeping it, which is why he tries to beat players. So his naivety towards the end of the game, where he lost the ball trying to beat players, and they got the ball straight back in the last couple of minutes. Bamford was shouting his head off at him. That's the only thing I'd like to see from him, a little bit more maturity when we're trying to close out a game, which was my only issue. With him, really, we kept our shape in that. What felt like they had the ball for an hour, didn't it? It really did feel like that. And we were the only team that created chances. I think we created 2 chances in that whole period of play, and I don't think they had one shot. So, like, it would have been. There was a moment where Somerville scuffed a shot at the keeper when they'd had the ball for literally 15 minutes, and it would have literally been the most against run of play goal you'll have ever seen. I remember thinking that. I saw we looked dangerous, we broke. Somerville got the ball on the edge of the box, and I just thought this would be outrageous to score now. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But the thing about our shape and breaking us down, I saw a lot of Norwich fans on Twitter saying you get at Leeds and they crumble, and it's the stats don't say that. The stats say we've got the second best defence in the league, and fighting fire with fire actually benefits Leeds, and they probably didn't do enough of that. They didn't have enough attacking impetus. They had Josh Sargent, who did probably half the work that Bamford did with no reward and no service. So
I'd agree. I think I'd agree with that. I think if we were playing a better squad man for man yesterday, we might have been in a bit of trouble. I think we've got to appreciate we'd played 100 minutes against Preston 3 days before, and they battered us about. You know, there was a lot of it was a tough old game against Preston at home. Look, we came out of it with the 3 points, but there's no doubt that the bodies would have been feeling it Monday morning after. Did they play Sunday? Did we play Sunday? It's Sunday, Wednesday.
Sunday, 12 o'clock on Sunday, wasn't it? It would have been early kick-off on Sunday.
So I think we've got to obviously be a little bit appreciative of what they're putting their bodies through. You know, they're going to have played 3 games in less than a week. Comes Saturday, and as I say, Preston were there to knock us about a bit. That was their game plan, on it, old manners, and to go in and actually play against a Norwich side that. I mean, they were relatively well organised, but as you said, they were all fat and no shite. I think you said earlier, which is right. You know, if they had a couple of better players in that squad, they could have probably caused us problems. But I think that would have been more our own making, because we did look a bit leggy. Just on the legginess, then, Andrea, where do you stand on this substitution thing? That Farke's got, where he will not. I can understand both sides of the argument, so I really want to understand it from other people's perspective and where you're leaning toward. Should he be making changes for change's sake, just to keep players fresh and get some fresh legs on, or are you very much in the camp whereby it's very difficult to get your foot on a game when it's so tight and things aren't really working, and you know, it could take a player 5 or 10 minutes to get up to game speed. Which side of the fence do you sit on with regards to that, or are you similar to me?
Yeah, I'm similar, and I'm like in the middle, you know, because if I look at yesterday, I wouldn't have made changes, honestly, because I think we were working pretty well as we were, and I think he made the changes at the right time. If I'm not looking at yesterday, but looking at the general picture, I think that sometimes, and you know, I tend to to start shouting sometimes, make a sub, because I think that there's games where he needs to make those substitutions earlier, because there's players that are knackered. We've seen Ampadu, for example, towards the period of December. In December, he had a period where he was clearly struggling to play the 90 minutes, and he needed to be rested or either subbed off. Not just him, but other players too. There were players also. Archie, I think he had a couple of bad games in terms of, because, for example, Sunderland, because he was really knackered in terms of fitness, because in the end, we're always playing the same players. It's always the same 11. And there's also the need to bring in one or two options from the market for me in key positions, because we've seen it yesterday, knocks are part of the game, but there's also the fitness issue that may slow down also the recovery in terms of playing 3 games in a week, basically, because we played Preston on Sunday, now yesterday Norwich, and we're playing again on Saturday against Plymouth. So I think we need more depth. We have a good bench in terms of player capable of being on the bench, but of course there's players who are not trusted by Falk in terms of first options out of the bench. For example, Poveda, Gellert. I think there's also 1 or 2 players that need alone. Like Gellert, for me, he needs alone. But yeah, it's adaptable in the end. Going back to your question, to game by game. Yesterday, I think it was right to keep the team as it was, because we were playing pretty well. I think we had, after the first 15 minutes in the second half, we had 7 clear chances in the second half. We had some very good attacking play after we reorganized after that. So it wouldn't have changed. In other games, I think he still needs to not wait for the 70th minute to make the first substitution, because there's players sometimes that really look tired or out of the game. For example, Pirot is the biggest example. So he keeps playing in the 10 when he was playing there, in that position before he moved right there. And even if he was basically out of the game, he kept playing him until the 80th minute, also full 90 minutes, without him making an impact. So it's adaptable, but looking at the general picture, in the end, I think he should make the subs earlier. Yesterday he was all right, but in other games, it might cause us problems, fitness-wise.
I think in terms of the changes yesterday, the one that was the enforced one, I think really hurt us, because if you look at the impact not having Dan James had, the way that he closes down, the way that he works, I don't. I've got a lot of time for Anthony making himself available, given what he's got on away from football right now, and I'm not denigrating him at all. But the way that Dan James works in defence, and then is a threat, and defenders are scared of him getting past them, it makes a massive difference to us when he's not there.
Agree. I think there was a bit of criticism last night for Anthony that I saw, and I didn't think he was that bad. I just think what I find reassuring about players like Anthony that come on the pitch is that, and we've seen it when there was calls for rotation against Stoke, and we all saw how that went, is that Farke knows what our best team is. Dan James is absolutely a part of that. So anybody that's come on, and that does include Nonto, just doesn't offer the same attributes as to what Dan James does. Nobody is going to run as much as him on that wing. Never thought I'd be saying that Dan James is more clinical, but he is, and that's ultimately why Anthony hasn't played more minutes. So I just find it reassuring. I think that Anthony coming on still does a job. I think he's positive. He tries to beat players. He can work well in tight situations, and we've seen once already this year he can finish. So it's a good problem to have. I don't think we've got bad options. In terms of like what I feel like we could get in, I think getting a right back in would free up Archie Gray and ultimately our central midfield options in terms of combinations of Gruev and Gray and Kamara and Gray. I feel like Gray is good at right back, definitely much better. There are obviously areas he can improve against quick wingers and things like that, but I think the most he can give us is in the centre of the park. So I think getting a right back in January would free up players that can have a more positive impact in the middle of the park, like Archie Gray, who is doing wonders from right back, but he's so good in midfield. So that's what I would rather get in rather than a winger right now, in my view.
Yeah, I think just on Jadon Anthony, I thought he looked all right yesterday when he came on. I don't think he looked out of place, and he's a good option to certainly have. And I mean, you've got to first of all take into account the week he's had, bless him, losing his mother. But not only that, to actually come on, he looked sharp. I thought he got the ball played into him a couple of times. He lost his man, left him for dust. Probably should have scored realistically with the chance he had. Yeah, I didn't think he was too bad. I mean, but we obviously missed Dan James and his pressing, and him and Bamford are telepathic almost. You know, one of them presses, the other one knows what to do almost immediately, and you can see that they've played together for some time. But just on selections, and you mentioned there about having a bit of a headache, I suppose. I seen a comment earlier from it was Skip actually, and it just to go back to selection and headaches that we've potentially got. When the whole squad's fit, does Struijk get back in ahead of Ampadu, and does Ampadu start ahead of Gruev on current form? Gilly, I'll start with you, mate.
I've started ascribing to Smarty's view of this, and that is that the players have played themselves into form, and until such a time as that changes or somebody's unavailable, you play them. You know, Bamford is in form at the moment, and what is he? 4 goals and 1 assist in 5 games. You play him, and you play him until such a time as he's not available. I think the same goes for. I mean, I think Ampadu and Rodon at the back at the moment is the best centre back pairing in the league, and that goes for anybody that we've seen in those positions for us as well as anybody else.
Agreed.
They look so assured, and Rodon is just a monster at the moment. He's winning everything in the air. I think, you know, it's just working. I think Firpo defensively he's meeting everything that's asked of him, and I know that people might scoff at that a little bit, but he's doing what is needed, and he's offering a lot in attack. You know, he could have scored last night. He made a decent connection. Unfortunately, didn't get far enough into the corner, but he made a decent connection on the shot. That again came from Russo being strong on the byline and then it being cut back in. But he could have got himself a goal. From the cheese, it were in front of the copy, were attacking, and it looked like it were going in. So we were all going mad because if Firpo scores were on the pitch. So I think I don't think I have a view of Struijk, and that view is that he's all right at this level. And I know that you rate him a bit higher than I do. I don't think anybody walks back into this side, though. I think the side's playing well at the moment, and if you look at the form that they're in. How do you drop anybody out of it? There's been another question, just as we're talking about it by Pecan there, about who do you take out of midfield if you put Gray back in there?
It's not so
I
much
do rate Gray in midfield.
Yeah,
What's that, sorry?
I don't think it's that so much who do you take out. I think it's more options, rest, rotation of all good players who could come in at any point rather than dropping. I mean, that's different, I think, for the centre-back pair. And I think you're absolutely right. Ampadu and Rodon, you wouldn't change it. I think Struijk and Ampadu both offer different passing options when they play. Struijk is a lot more progressive, passes through the lines on the wings. Ampadu tries a ball over the top. Bamford tries to feed off the scraps. Ampadu's played two really good assists this season for goals. I just think that seems to work a little bit better in terms of variety than Struijk. So yeah, he doesn't walk back into this team at the moment. You're right.
Yeah, no, yeah. Sorry, go on, Andrea. I'll let you.
No, I agree. I agree with both. I think right now, especially with the tactical adjustment that Fake made, with Ampadu and Rodon, because Ampadu, he was playing here in Italy in a back four, both for Venezia and Spezia, and it was terrible because it was a different side, different formation when they were in possession. So he always had to man mark basically the striker, and we've seen that when we are in possession. Here, we are playing like a 3-3-3-1 basically, and he goes wide like a left centre back, and it allows us to have another adjoining midfielder, apart from Gruev, another deep line playmaker, when Ampadu has the ball, and Luke pointed out that correctly, long balls over the top, trying to reach the depth with Bamford making running behind or switching the side. Kamara did that too a lot yesterday in midfield, switching the side, and I think we were pretty good in doing that yesterday. more than in other games, I think. So I think what Ampadu is now offering in that formation when we are in possession, Strauk is not offering that because they're two different playmakers. And I agree also with the thing about the progressive passes of Strauk. Of course, is a different options. You can adapt to different games. You can play one in one game and another one in another game. So far, it would be a mistake based on form to take Gruev out of midfield, or also Kamara for me. But of course, you'll have options to adapt to each in different game. And also the same it goes for Ampadu and Strauk. Now Ampadu is playing well. The system is working. We are balanced too. Because it's like yesterday was like at times having Firpo and Samuel on one side and James and Gray on the other one. It was like having 4 wingers because Ampadu and Rodon were covering with Cadian width and playing wide with Gruev and Kamara covering the middle. We were not unbalanced. It looked on paper, if you look at that, very offensive. But we were really, really balanced, I think. We just had a difficult moment, I think, with that formation but they went from the right wing and the ball went inside and Sarah missed the impact up with the ball. But I think the formation right now, I agree with what Gilly said, right now Fake, we started to know him now. I don't think he'll change because based on form, this is the balanced and solid 11 now. So unless there's injuries or fitness problems or suspensions, you won't change that, honestly. I agree with that.
No. I've been Stroik's biggest supporter, I suppose, since the start of the season. I said he would be very important to us this year. But even I can't see how you could put somebody just back in because the only positive, I suppose, and the only thing in his what's the word I'm looking for?
Favour?
Favour is the word I'm looking for. Yeah, easy one. In his favour is that he's obviously the club captain when Coops isn't playing. So Ampadu's been leading us very well as well, though. So yeah, it's a very, very tough one. Listen, just very quickly, I just want to break away from this chat because I know Hannah is waiting to join us. Hannah's just dropped a chat and said that she's been in a meeting with Parag this morning, and anyway. Let's let her get her in and let her tell us about it.
Great.
All the way from the US of A. How you doing,
Hello.
Hannah?
I'm good. How are you guys? Hello.
Hello. It's been a while.
I know.
Yes.
How are you lot?
My favourite Hannah Bradley from the US of A in the whole world.
The only one.
No, come on then. Tell us a little bit more about this meeting you've had with Parag. Is it exclusive? Can anyone go?
No, it was exclusive. There's about 20 of us. Because as you know, and as you've probably seen on Twitter, the Leeds groups. Well, for starters, so there's Leeds United Americas that was founded like late 80s, early 90s. That kind of established all these pods in Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York City, Washington, D.C., Florida. And we're trying to kind of grow it again. So we're at a point, I think we have about 20 different cities out here. And then I'm close to Los Angeles, but I'm considered the Orange County or SoCal group of the lot. But of course, now that we've been fully bought out by the Niners, they, of course, have a pretty large interest in getting some more fans out in the US. So Parag was on a call with us this morning. And from the sounds of it seems like they're just going to offer us some support to get in contact with like local pubs in each of the markets because the most difficult thing for us is those noon games that you guys have. That's 4:30 in the morning here. So while of course, like happy to have a beer, it's hard finding a pub or an establishment that will open for us. So
you don't have Wetherspoons out there?
No. No, you have to pay $12 for a beer out here if you go out. I love Spoons when I go over there. It's the best.
Has Jesse Marsch tried to join?
Absolutely not. He's banned.
Is he allowed?
He's banned and Weston McKinney's banned.
Just okay, yeah. Good. I just want to make sure.
Don't like that one. Too far away that one. So yeah, you said in the comment there, Hannah, that he said the locker room and morale is really, really high at the minute, which is really, really positive, and it's probably what. Looking at some of the reactions, we saw Georgie on was it Instagram Live doing a dance with Willie. Pinonto, and Glenn Kamara in the background and whatever else. So it's probably what we expect at this stage anyway. Was there anything? I mean, he said the last 2 wins, I think you said in inverted commas, were changing points. Do you think that's?
Yeah, they were opportunities that it could have, of course, gone either way. And it seems like he thought that those 2 games have just completely boosted morale and comfort. He said everybody's really, really back. He said Daniel's doing such a good job. Everybody's backing Daniel. There's reasons why we brought him in. He knows what he should be doing. And all he emphasized was getting back up to the Premier League. Like that's what the Niners organization wants, of course, more than anything. And he was making some comments about how Daniel has said that this is the stronger team than he had when he was at Norwich. And he thinks that he is like in the conversations that they're having, thinks that he's totally capable with this group right now to do what they need to do. So it just sounds like the Niners organization is incredibly happy right now, which of course is great news. And then it seems like the lads are all getting along, and I mean, it's been great for Brent Bamford and everyone. So a lot of positivity, which isn't always what's happening as a fan of Leeds United. So
absolutely. We do appreciate you jumping on, because I know you left a work meeting to join us.
This is more important.
Yeah, of course it is. But if you have got a few more minutes, it looks like there has been a couple of questions just coming directly for yourself, Hannah. So if you have got a couple of minutes, I'll just get these. Hannah is in SoCal. Does she know Retro Bob's Arcade? He's a big Leeds fan.
No.
You don't know him?
No, I need to know more. I don't know a lot of SoCal Leeds fans. We've had a lot of shifts that have happened because it's just so expensive to live here. So most of the supporters that we were watching with a few years ago have like moved states, or a lot of people are actually going back to England. I don't know if you guys know that. There's like an influx of people that were here that are going back. So we need to do a bit of a better job as a group. That's what Parag was talking to us about earlier today. What can we do marketing and outreach wise? But yeah, have him follow the Twitter account, because we're going to try to find a pub.
Get Retro Bremner's Ghost. Get Retro Bob's Arcade to follow. What's the at now? Is it at LUFC SoCal?
SoCal, yep.
Yeah, wicked. And then just quickly, did Parag give any hints to any signings or anything like that?
He did make a comment about new players coming through. It was very quick how he said it. But I think there is, there's going to be an effort, because they know, just as we know, like you can't just do what you need to do to get promoted, because what happens in the new year or in the new season is you just immediately come back down. And I think they've seen that firsthand. So
much for 49ers keeping quiet. He's been running his mouth.
He's so happy. I think he's just high on that win, right?
He's ruined it for everyone.
Yeah, there goes the they keep the business close to the chest of rumor.
Exactly. Everyone can stop saying that now.
The other question we've had, Hannah, is I don't know if there's much interest in this at all across the pond, but certainly a lot of Leeds fans watched it. With Jesse Marsch as interview with Simon Jordan. Did you see that? You did see that? Has there been much said about that over there?
Everyone thinks he's an idiot.
Yeah. It's bad when people prefer Simon Jordan to Jesse Marsch.
And it's like, who our one of our top commentators is out here? I don't want to curse. It's fucking Alexi Lawless. Who
played in Italy with Padova.
Yeah, shithead.
Absolute bell end.
So, the fact that everybody hates Lawless, but I mean, Marsch's interview, he just says buzzwords, and I'm sure he was doing that when he was coaching too. Like, there's no backing or passion or knowledge behind what he's saying.
I fell for it. I actually thought that we've got a guy here that knows what he's a passion merchant. I love all that smashing the fist in the air. And that. I was like, give me some more passion.
I remember the tweet from Lalas when we lost against Man City. The tweet that he tweeted that Leeds are not supposed to beat Man City, and it was retweeted by Rodrizzani. I think that tweet. But Lalas is remembered in Italy, he played for Padova. Yeah, when they were in Serie A, I remember, because he used to go on a comical show and play his guitar at that show. So he was like a comical figure in Italy, Lalas. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
yeah.
Alexi
Played his
Lalas is a
guitar
ball bag.
seriously, like
Yeah.
thought he was good or whatever.
No, I didn't. Obviously, I
Like
didn't really
Chelino on the guitar, you mean?
Yeah, guitar.
Yeah, it was good with the
Chelino in
guitar.
a band, don't they?
Yeah, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, Roland. He's a friend of ours. He's been out on the drink with us once or twice. Comes across for it. So he knows. He knows Alex. Do you reckon Jesse Marsch, when he orders a Domino's, orders a pepperoni passion with extra passion?
He's such a moron.
No, I think he has a veggie volcano and tries to convince everyone it's the best one.
That's the sort of thing you'll pull.
He lives in Tuscany now, apparently.
And it's just the audacity, just like, I don't know. He's like a really bad example of somebody when they get fired and they're just so resentful about it. Like, I feel like he doesn't really have anything good to say, and he just thinks he was wrongly fired. Like, he was like,
Yes.
we had good stuff happening in the locker room. It's like, you had no points. Like, we were not winning. How can you just sit there and say all these
He
words
insisted on saying there were. He was saying it would go in the right direction.
You don't know that. Like, it's just the audacity. I mean, there's a reason why he hasn't even been hired by an MLS team out here.
Let me ask you a question, Hannah.
He turned Southampton and Leicester down.
Yeah.
Do you
the
think
absolute brunt of the man?
According to him. Sorry, Lou. Go on.
Yeah.
Do you think the whole xenophobic thing was accurate? Because he made me buy into that, where he was basically, starting the narrative that the British media here are not going to get over the fact that I'm American. Like that was what he was trying to drive, and I bought that. I thought, yeah, if he was Cockney and a geezer and whatever, and he was speaking in a different way, or even just English, he might not have had the abuse that he got. He tried to get the whole people are not going to get over the fact that I'm American.
But we loved Adams until he was a snake. So that sort of
but this guy was the manager. Like, positivity and driving positivity into a team does not mean you're a good coach. And ultimately, that's what his strengths were. That's what he self-confessed. That's what he said in that podcast. What his strengths were. Anyone could go in and be positive. Like, he didn't even do that. He didn't even create a good vibe. Because
I was just about to say that he actually failed at that bit. Because if you remember him complaining at the West Stand about the players being scared, well, that's on you. You're the coach.
Yeah. Exactly. If you can't even do the one thing you say you're good at, you're not going to be successful.
I hated that
XG
sentence
and all that.
The metrics were trending in the right direction, though, Lou.
Yeah.
The penis ball metrics.
You
know what? If it goes in the middle, why would we play wingers?
Yeah. Do you know what? One thing I would say is that, and I think I agree with him on this. Look, and I think if you don't, you're very, very blind. I don't know what you call them. Short-sighted. That's the word. And with the results didn't reflect the performances in quite a lot of his games. We were a better side than our results did reflect.
He was unlucky, right? Yeah, he was.
But luck can only last so long, and that's where the we toed the line, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing too is like what you said about media.
Still a knobhead, by the way.
But media may look at him and be like, oh, he's American. I think media in any instance is going to look at something negative, because negative publicity for media just gets more views and talk. So of course they were going to talk about him being American, but if he did well, had the respect of the fans, had respect of the locker room, had respect of the ownership, if he just was respectful and made everybody like feel confident in the position that they were in, everybody would just be like, the media can say whatever. Because do you remember the lovely American Leeds fans that we had for like one season? They were all saying, oh, you don't like this because we're American. You don't do. I talk like this, and I've been receiving nothing but love from Leeds supporters for 12 years on Twitter, 13 years on Twitter. So it's just I think there's a bit of American hard-headedness and just this belief that you don't have to work to earn like an equal respect. Like they just think it should be given.
But that's because you're an actual Leeds fan, not a USMNT fan that just happened to have a player in our side.
USMT fans, I know from living in California my whole life, I know maybe 3 people that actually have followed soccer, US men's soccer, the entire like I don't know, last 30 years. Like nobody cares about it here except for probably 2 World Cups ago, people started giving a shit. So all these people that are even USMT fans, like they probably couldn't tell you a single player's name from 12 seasons ago or 12 years ago without looking something up. So
it's weird, isn't it, being passionate about something that you think other people are going to be passionate about. My wife has cousins that are American, and I was telling them all about Tyler Adams and Aronson and McKennie, and they were going, don't care. Oh, and Jesse Marsch, she's our manager, so it's very American at the moment. And they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Boring.
To me, it sounded like when he did that interview, it sounded like an NCAA coach because he was talking about the process and all of that. But you know, in professional football, you need to bring the results, not and the points are earned on the pitch, not by XG goals, the expected goals and the metrics. So really sounded like one of those NCAA coaches, but you know, you're there to form athletes in the NCAA.
He was quite negative for a positive guy, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah, it's all facade.
It's the self-awareness that I didn't get. There was lots of early interviews when he first came that were these weird passive-aggressive digs at the previous, like about Bielsa and the training and the injuries and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, don't talk about that, mate, because this isn't just some manager who was here for 4 months and got sacked. This was a bloke that clearly everyone in the fan base worshipped. Like, we've not brought you in because we think you're him. We brought you in because we want the start of a new project, and he never ever looked long term.
I've only just got over this.
He actually just reminded me of something funny Prague said earlier too. Prague made a comment about all the players that left. Not a dig or anything, but he was like, you know, Leeds United are now famous for their release clauses, and he's like, we'll never do that again. So.
Yeah, I think one thing that has to be said, and at the risk of rewinding 12 months and going into too much about Jesse and Bielsa and stuff, one thing that the 49ers certainly have brought is that element of calm, and you actually believe that we're in good hands at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. One of my biggest worries is that we'd turn into a tourist club, we'd extend the stands, they'd be selling popcorn and candy floss and Coors Light and you know, all the
What's
shit
wrong with
stuff.
Coors Light?
Oh, it's absolutely dog shit. That's what, Hannah. But yeah, you know, and that was. But at the moment, I think I'd rather be in sensible, financially astute hands than where people aren't coming onto Twitter and saying we've signed a player and actually that player's still in France and signs for another club and then fails his medical.
Well, you know what's nice is Parag doesn't get on Twitter and start tweeting after he's had a bottle of red wine. So that in itself is a.
Andrea, you're
what I do and turn your phone off when you've had a few.
Andrea, you're not our previous owner with the disguise of a mustache, are you?
No. I'm not.
Hello, guys.
No. Now he's back. He's back on Twitter
me,
now.
Andrea.
Yeah. He activated the account now lately, I think.
Just asking, it's been bugging me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else juicy from that meeting, Hannah, that's worth sharing while we're in front of 75 people?
There's just a lot of positivity coming. I just think that they're really excited. They're probably going to do some things for like our groups to come out to Ellen Road and to England, and also vice versa. Like there's a lot of English people that of course come to the US for whatever reason for holiday. So if you guys are out here during the season, you know, check out what city you're in. There's lots of us here, both expats and Americans, that can host you for a party, and it's just exciting. I think they're really engaged and really happy to be, you know, taking ownership of this. And of course, the results are good, but they seem like they're happy with the squad, and they're very happy with Daniel. So.
Yeah,
good. Did you talk about a possible, if we got promoted, of course, I think a possible tour in the US in the summer? Maybe?
Yeah, I literally cornered Victor Orta when I was at Ellen Road 2 years ago and told him, if you go to Australia, not the US, I will find you. And then they went to Australia, so that's why he's gone. Just kidding. But no, it's gonna happen. Especially they have Levi Stadium, which is one of the largest stadiums here in the US. Leeds are gonna play there. Like it's just it's a given. So book your tickets.
I think Roland summed it up. I think we're all pretty happy with where we are with Daniel. So if you want to stay, Hannah, you're more than welcome. If work's calling, you can shoot back to work and do whatever you need to do. What I just wanted to do before we start sort of finishing up and talking on a few little bits, obviously coming on to Plymouth in the Cup at the weekend, was performances last night. Oh God, yeah. And
I'll just turn the account off, like Andrea.
Don't drop any names, whatever you do.
Was on performances last night. So, who surprised you more than anybody, Gilly? Who? I mean, obviously we've got a team now, and we've already spoken about form and how we're playing and stuff. But when actually Tough got going last night, I thought a couple of players who I probably wouldn't have expected to stand up. I don't know if you felt the same way or it came across the same way from. Were you in the Northeast Lower last night?
No, I mean cheese. So
he's been cheesy.
That's it. The fullbacks. So I touched on it earlier with Firpo. He did everything that were asked of him defensively, and I know that he's had he's derided in his defensive aspect, even if people were giving him a bit of leeway in his attacking. But I felt that he handled everything that came to him, and I think we need to remind ourselves that Archie Gray is still only 17. But what he did and the way that he impressed his physicality on his opponents, he bossed it. He absolutely bossed it. And not only did he do that, I mean, if you remember that, it pretty much saved a goal towards death, where they were running through. I think there were 3-on-2 at one point, and Rodon had tried making a foul, which I really respect him for, because that's exactly what we needed him to do, but missed it. And Archie was the last man, just took the ball off the man, turned away from it, gave himself some space and cleared the ball. You're thinking you should not be able to do that.
Cornel Hernandez, he was a fair old player. You know, he's got some experience, and he made him look like bloody Jack Wilshere after he'd had his knee operation. But yeah, it was both the football. Anybody else got any? I mean, obviously, the two I was actually leaning toward was both the fullbacks. I thought they were both outstanding. Probably couldn't split them. It'd be on a flip of a coin as to who was my man of the match out of the two. Does anybody else have anybody else that they would like to recognise from last night's performances?
I think the key is consistency, really. We're not. I know last season is entirely different, but we had nobody on form last season. Rodrigo scored a few goals, but nobody was playing well. I don't think you can pick anyone out of this team who isn't playing well. I think the guys are all right in what they say in the fullbacks. The surprises are that Gray is as good as he is, and the fact he keeps doing it. Like Gilly said, that tackle and then to form an attack after it was just ridiculous. Firpo is surprising in that he's not being Firpo, if you know what I mean, at the moment. So I guess that is that. But I think he's feeling a bit of love at the moment. He's clearly he might be one of the sensitive types like Bamford and just needs a bit of confidence and making some positive contributions, and that's what he's doing at the moment. So he's feeling the love. So is Bamford, and I think it's making such a difference to the team. Players that we've not really been relying on, that we aren't necessarily relying on now, but they are a positive part of the team, and they're making inroads. If the whole team is contributing like that, it means that the whole squad is just in a great place, because you're not really worrying about anyone coming on the pitch. I mean, the only way we would groan at the moment is if Bamford had a ball in his hand for a penalty, and that's it. That's literally as bad as it gets. And that nearly happened the other day, let's be honest.
Hey, I weren't mourning when he passed it to Piro, I tell you.
No, I wasn't either.
Did you made a video of the Japanese fans of the penalty with Bamford? Yeah.
That was a funny video. The Tokyo supporters group.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah. You made a really good point there about trusting the players. Somebody mentioned in the Stad comments that we've got a weak bench. I think it was Glenn Hayes. I don't tend to agree with that, and I think I'll tell you why. And I'm going to bring this to you, Andrea, because one thing that's puzzled me this season is with Gruev coming into the team and looking so perfect for how we play. Why has it been until now until we've seen him feature? I know. The obvious is that we've got no centre backs and Ampadu's had to drop back. But he looks so composed. He looks like he's been playing for us for years. Why do you think if he is so good and his passing percentages, you'll be able to tell me better. I think they've been 97 and 95% over the last 2 games.
Exactly.
So what do you think? Farke's just been waiting for him for the right time, or do you think his fitness? Do you think he's been training really hard? And he's been what's the solution, and why do you think?
Well, I think the first thing you said, honestly, I think it really contributed to it. Ampadu moving to the centre back position because of necessity, basically, and Gruev taking his opportunity at Peterborough. Because he had some cameos before, but it didn't shine. For example, at West Brom, when he started, he struggled for me for various parts of the game. So we need time probably to adjust to the English different level of rhythm, English football. I mean, because of course,
who did we sign him from?
Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga.
That's right.
Yeah, so he played 31 games last season. So I really wondered when we signed him. I said, I hope we don't play him alongside Ampadu, because there were a lot of comments. Oh, he's going to play alongside Ampadu, but for me, it's always been either start Ampadu or Gruev, because they are too similar in that position, in the DM position. And right now, I think he wasn't playing before because of Ampadu being one of the most consistent players so far in the first part of the season. Then Ampadu, of course, was still playing when he was absolutely knackered in terms of fitness. And I think really contributed to the fact that he has to move Ampadu back to bring this in the centre-back position and Gruev there in the place of Ampadu. Because now with this different information, with Firpo, with the three basic centre-backs when we are in possession, because Gruev drops back, I think it's allowed also Gruev to move around, free roam, and be the real playmaker in this team, because yesterday too, it was the key, basically the balance between the attacking side and the defensive side of the formation. It was key for our balance throughout the whole game. So yeah, it was a mixture of Farke playing the same 11 and less of suspension injuries, and also the fact that we have made some technical adjustment for me in this system in order to allow Firpo to get forward. And also we are a different team now with Bamford playing the 9, stretching the team, creating depth, and Rotor in the 10. So it's more suited to me right now, this 11, to Gruev. And he has the freedom to move around, be the key, the link up between the two sections, let's call them like that, of the team. So it's a mixture of all those things. But it was really good. We're talking about, for example, Cresswell, other players, it was really good to take the opportunity he was given, and now it's very, very difficult to take him out of the starting 11, because we've seen that he belongs there. He belongs.
Agreed.
There's a bit of pressure on him at the moment as well. I don't know if you've seen it, but Don Matteo has drawn equivalencies between Gruev and Batty.
Ooh.
There's the thing. No pressure at all.
No pressure. I'll tell you one thing I really rate about Gruev is his timing of his challenges, and he's not afraid to go off his feet. But other times when it's not there to be won, he's such an intelligent player. There was a chance. There was a time yesterday where Norwich broke, and I think a lot of players would have tried to win the ball and probably picked up a yellow card, and he just didn't commit. He just pulled out of it and chased back. So yeah, so just going back to the initial question about the bench being weak. I don't think I subscribe to that. I think we've got options in a lot of areas. I mean, obviously there's areas we can strengthen and improve on, I think, as a unit and as a squad. But I don't think obviously we've got a couple of injuries and things, but when you look at our bench, if we lined up with the same team next week and everybody was fit, you're looking at a bench of Byram, Shackleton, Kristen
Cooper,
Cooper, Stroik, Nonto,
Byram,
Matteo Joseph, Anthony. I don't think that's a poor bench.
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah. Just a quick point about Gruev. I know you mentioned about it, the timing of his challenges. One of the key things I've noticed is how a lot of players, midfield players particularly, like to ping the ball into the feet of another player. Gruev seems to play his passes like right in front of the player, right into the basket, if you like, and it always keeps the momentum going. Even if he does play a pass backwards, it's in a way where the player can bring the ball out. It's just all of his passes are perfect, keeps the momentum going. really clever little player, and he is a real asset at the minute, because you really do notice just the contributions he makes every single little time. Not to mention that ridiculous flick yesterday, playing in those tight situations. Meslier gave him the ball twice in about 3 minutes when he clearly didn't want it. Dealt with those situations really well. He didn't look in danger, but they were hospital passes.
One of them were fired right at him from about 10 yards away. He just booted it at him, and he dealt with it.
Pass.
Yeah.
Glenn's just put back in. I think obviously with regard to the comment, what he's saying is now that they'll do a job, not one that could change a game. I would argue Willie Nonto and Jaden Anthony probably could change a game on their day. I do agree that I still feel we need to bring in, and I keep banging it.
Perot did a weekend.
Yeah, Perot did. Sorry, Perot would be on the bench as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's more, I still think, and I keep banging it, no matter whose podcast I'm on, whether it's Joe's or ours, I spend more time on Joe's these days, actually, but I keep banging the drum that
that's the window.
I still think we do need an old experienced 10 who can come on and change a game. And I think that became quite apparent.
Let's not write off Gelhardt though here. Like, I mean, in terms of players coming off the bench,
he can change a game as well.
He can change a game. He was our guy that did that, even in the Premier League. You know, assist against Brighton for a start. The header he won in the centre of midfield to head the ball onto Rafinha. That guy has done it. Farke has brought a couple of players out of confidence in Firpo and Bamford and brought them back. There's no reason he can't do that with Gelhardt. So, I think it's unfair to say that there's no impact off the bench. But again, this needs players playing minutes, which, you know, this weekend is a good opportunity for people like Gelhardt to get some minutes and start getting that confidence back. That's what these games are good for. That Bamford goal at Peterborough has clearly been a springboard for him. You know, if we have a successful season this year, that will look as a key moment that was a real springboard in our season, Bamford scoring that. Because clearly, I mean,
can you remember how we looked at each other, Lou?
We were laughing our heads off.
We just looked at each other and laughed. We were there in the stands and just looked at each other. We couldn't fucking believe it.
But we also knew it was important that he'd done it, because we know that he likes to score in a bit of a flurry, which he's proved so many times. He's the biggest.
4 goals and 1 assist in his last 5 games.
That's it. But that's so good, and it is so true to the form that everyone says that once he scores one, he scores a few, and he does. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, fair point.
And I'm impressed that even after it was all, I mean, it needed to be done for his sake, but after Ayling leaving, I feel like that could have even done something pretty substantial to the dressing room. Like, you know, he wasn't getting time. He was such a big influence here, or whatever kind of look that could have been. It could have made, you know, people upset, or at least knock some people off, like, mentally. But I feel like we've been doing great. And, you know, I love the fact that the pub changed the name till the end of the season. It's brilliant.
Hey, do you know who it was, Lou? It was Marsch who actually sent me that.
What about the
Marsch sent me that about
not Jesse.
As soon as it had happened.
Jesse Marsch.
No,
you can't say that name.
Lou's mate.
Marsch. It's not Marsch, not Jesse. No, one of Lou's mates who I met at Lou's wedding. He sent me a text after Luke Ayling had gone, saying that they've renamed the Peacock as a joke. So I said I'm nicking that and I'm putting it on Twitter. So I put it on Twitter and it went mad. And then a week later, they've actually changed the fucking name of it.
Brilliant.
What did I just want to touch on? All right. Yeah, really, really quickly. I know we're coming up to the hour. Wholesale changes. Do we all agree for Plymouth at the weekend? Do we try and give as many minutes to as many fringe players as possible?
I think we'll win with our fringe team, but it's definitely a good opportunity to give some players some minutes.
And
do you know their starting centre midfielders are? Sorry, Anna. Yeah, yes, he's hurt his knee, but they don't believe it's too serious, according to Farke's comments after the game. They hope the ligaments aren't hurt, I think he said. Sorry, yeah, do you know who the centre midfielders who's starting for Plymouth are at the minute? Adam Forshaw and Darko Gaby.
Oh my goodness.
But Gabby obviously can't play
Forshaw's
against us.
upside, and JB won't play against us, I don't think.
Yeah. So he's not
So
allowed.
that's
so
no
yeah, it won't be
midfield,
those two.
so we're definitely going to win.
Don't speak too
Knock
soon.
on wood. Knock on wood
Yeah,
right now.
They had a few years back. They had Scott Wooten too, I think.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
Christ. Good question, Chris, and it's one that I think will be answered this weekend. Either his career with us is over completely, or
This one.
yes, this one. Do we think Cresswell? We'll just go around the houses really quickly.
Anyway, he's even on the bench this weekend, from what he says.
Nah,
He's not all of a sudden going to get on the bench, is he?
nah, I don't think so.
Let alone start.
Unless he's changed his attitude completely over these last couple of weeks and he's working really, really hard and he's jabbed his dad in the mouth and told him to button it.
Well,
I don't.
He's very big on negativity, and that shows with the whole Jed Spence thing, which obviously goes a lot deeper than him having a bad attitude. Obviously, there was a big event that he didn't turn up for and things like that. And somebody I saw on Twitter earlier made a really good point about, do we think it's no surprise we've started winning after he's left? Because obviously he played in a couple of games that we did lose. It just does make you wonder if his attitude was perhaps having a bit of a negative effect on the team. But he was clearly a bad egg, whatever happens.
Yeah, no, completely agree.
He's gone to Genoa now, has he?
Played his first 90 minutes, played full 90 minutes, left wing back.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so good.
It was all right. They gave him a 6 and a 6.5 rating. The papers, yeah.
Daniel Farker's given the manager a ring and gone, he's a good left back, so that's my recommendation.
Try him out on the left. Yeah. Really, really quickly then, we did it on the main pod. Were you on with the main pod with me, Gilly, at the weekend? On Tuesday?
Not the weekend, on Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't need to do it, but you three, just really quickly, who is your, if we were to end the season now, who would be your player of the season? I'll start with you, Hannah, ladies first.
Oh, shit. Oh, God. I don't know. No, I don't want to answer
Or I can
first.
come to you last if you prefer.
Yeah, ladies last.
Okay, we'll start with the Italian stallion, the Johnny Depp lookalike, Andrea. Johnny Depp, the Johnny Depp from Edward Scissorhands, though, not the Johnny Depp from the film where he looks really fit. I'm just kidding, Andrea. I'm just kidding, Andrea. You absolutely
lovely
look lovely.
I know. Don't worry.
I'm sure you'll be knocking on the door to come back on here, won't you? But who would be your player of the season and why so far this year?
Yeah, I was thinking, because there's a few, Archie Gray has been monumental, Amplu has been great, but I think that the major turnaround was looking at how he started the season. Now I think he's going to be Rotter. Has to be Rotter for me in terms of the contribution and the turnaround he's had. And now I hope he really keeps playing him. I mean, Farke in the 10 position, because the position he can be like in I think the number 10 position. So I think so far for the term of the contribution, I think Rotter, Somerville has been great too. But yeah, I think the major turnaround has been from Jorginho. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because I did pick up on a comment here from Andy. Gray is definitely the most improved player this season.
Yeah,
I think we need to remind ourselves that actually he only made his debut this season.
Yeah,
and that seems amazing considering what he's done up to this point.
Played against Aston Villa, didn't he, in a friendly, the season before in a friendly in Australia.
But he's
it's down to coaching. Simple as that. I think it speaks volumes when he says he signed a new contract and he basically says, "Thank you for showing the confidence in me." The confidence you can give to a talented young footballer at 17 to go and do what he's doing, you've got to put it down to the coaching, because he was nowhere near the first team until Farke came along. And look at what's happening. It's crazy. Of all of the players that we've lauded over as our young players, as we always do at Leeds, and we get excited about it, I don't think there are many as good as this.
And the fact that
there isn't really.
He comes
not
from
in terms of potential,
He comes from Leeds royalty bloodline too, so that's
absolutely. But just touching on the point about Jorginho, I think he's the most improved player this season, because last season I couldn't see a footballer in him. I thought it was dire. I wanted him gone. I thought, just cut your losses and get rid as best you can. And now you look at him, he's enjoying his football and he's brilliant to watch. Yeah. So for me, I think most improved
from Gilly. He said it about Bamford. He said it about Firpo. He said it about Stroik. Just call everyone shit, and then we'll win every week.
A lot of those guys are like, they need confidence. They need support. They need backing. Like you see how upset Rudder gets when he misses at Ellen Road, and like how bad he was fighting to get that first goal. Some of them are just way more mental than the other ones. Like, just making sure. Just making sure that they have like the mental support. And it's hard playing for Leeds, because I feel like supporters are a bit like, if somebody starts playing poorly, we all are on him. We're on him on Twitter. We're on him in the stands. Like, media's talking about it. So it's not like you have a shit game and then you move on. You have a shit game and you're going to hear about it for the entire week. And it has a huge impact on mental health. I think mental health is such a big aspect of how these guys are playing too. So
it's true. We are hysterical. But this is nothing new. I mean, I don't want to be negative. I think Rutter is brilliant. Mm-hmm. But I think if you look into what a lot of his attributes are, what you can see as a team that we've been losing a lot of games in the Premier League, the gulfing class between the Championship and the Premier League is actually pretty massive. I mean, Rutter does not get away with poor first touch, muscling defenders off the ball in the Premier League. Doesn't mean he won't be good as a, going into the Prem potentially as a confident player, but the same really for Rodon. How does he deal with Mo Salah running at him as an example? Yeah. There's lots of things to consider. We are obviously a really good team for this league, but I think that's the same for Dan James. Some of these players we're talking about. He's my player of the season on the basis of consistency and output, goals and assists, and the sort of team we look like without him in it, which I think is a really good indicator. We've been lucky enough to have Rutter play, a lot of minutes. The same with Dan James, but Dan James has been brilliant. I really didn't. It would have been Somerville if Somerville had played well in the last sort of 3 or 4 games, but I think he's been just a little bit off it. So yeah, Dan James for me.
Fair point. Hannah, have you come to a conclusion yet?
I was between James, Rutter, or Ampadu. I feel who's gotten it the last few years, because I feel like it's pretty consistent.
I don't think we had one last season.
We didn't do one last year.
I think. Yeah, you're right. I feel like a lot of midfielders.
And I think that was the right answer.
You're such a shithead. I feel like it goes pretty consistently to someone in midfield, because I feel like that just has such a huge role in the way that we play. So I could see it being Ampadu probably.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Yeah, I can't disagree with any of those shouts.
There's no wrong answer, is there?
I think Ampadu's a brilliant answer. I think it's fantastic. It's not, and that's nothing to do with the that's what I said.
You could make an argument for literally any of those players on a different week. If Gruev had played all season, we'd probably be talking about him in the pitch.
I mean, if someone said Meslier, then I guess that would be a wrong answer.
Give him a kiss of death, Gilly.
Here we go. Kiss of death. Island on Meslier. Here we go.
You could have done better with some of it. Do you know what? Right, I will say this. It does. He's probably being told to do it because he's doing it consistently. But stop punching the ball and just fucking catch it. When you're not under any pressure, just fucking catch it.
I don't think he can.
Let's chill out a bit.
I don't mind him punching.
I mean, it's fairly important for a goalkeeper to be able to learn it. So it'd be good if he could try.
He punches it well, doesn't it?
The frustration is when he didn't time out.
Would it be fair to say that Meslier makes a squirm?
I'm not getting into that.
In the South Stand toilets.
Fair enough.
Right. We have been here for some time. Thank you ever so much to Podcast Virgin, Andrea, for joining us all the way from Italy. Big
you,
Lou
mate.
Coops, as ever, a pleasure. Thank you, and hope to see you again a game soon. Hannah, Brad, when you're back next over for a game this season, yeah? Have you got any plans this season?
Probably toward the end of the year. So next season, probably not this season. It's too bloody expensive.
Cool. And where can they follow you? Your what's your Twitter again to follow this as? Is it LUFCSO Cal CAL?
Yep. And then follow
Perfect.
Legion and Americas too. That's where all the info is going to be.
Great. So if anybody does want any of that information, Andrea, have we got a channel coming up anytime soon? Or are you just
I think so.
Floating?
Yeah, I think so. Very soon, because amongst all the other things that I'm doing, of course, outside of Leeds, clearly, I would like to do some from time to time, of course, as an hobby, but it won't be focused mainly on Leeds. To be, of course, talk about this, but I'd like to do some storytelling about some history of football and all of those stuff, because I really like that part of the sport, when you mix sports and culture and history. So I'll try to do that, and maybe some analysis, all of that, what comes to my mind, I try to arguments and topics that I find interesting.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled then for Andrea's channel when it comes up. We'll share it all. Big Lou on a LS11 as ever. You've just released a video or just recorded a video. When's that going out?
Yeah, that's out already. The one we recorded about 7 o'clock today. The only shout out I want to do today is for our mate Johnny's lad Alfie, who is on a 32 game unbeaten streak at Ellen Road with his dad, which is...
Imagine what happens when we lose, though. He's going to absolutely be distraught, isn't he?
It's going to be like the Rotherham game or something, isn't it?
Like Wigan.
I think that's brilliant. So keep telling your dad to take you to the game, mate, because you're clearly a lucky charm. His dad said he's probably watching the pod tonight. So nice one, Alfie.
Great.
Keep going to the games, mate. Hopefully, maybe Leeds can sort you out with just free tickets for the rest of the season. But let's see.
Yeah, wicked. If anyone's still wants to get some more podcasts and more channels, Jay from Auto Better's on with Joe. I think they're probably live now on Just Joe. So if you want to jump on over there and see and watch Joe and our very own Jay, he'll be on there. We'll be back this weekend.
Jay and Smarty this weekend.
Jay and Smarty.
Jay again, yeah. All over it, his lad.
Yeah. After the Plymouth game, probably I would imagine Sunday morning, because I think there'll be a few beers had Saturday. Might be Saturday afternoon, I'm not sure. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Do like and subscribe if you do like and do fancy subscribing. If you don't, we don't really care. But take it easy. Thanks again to everybody. Thanks for you all in the comments. And we will see you sometime at the weekend, I guess. Will we, Gilly? I don't know what day.
Great.
Saturday or Sunday?
Yep.